The plan is to create a multidisciplinary center, a center of excellence. And so that is in the works. And, hopefully by the time I retire from the military in 2028, then that site will be ready for us.
Hello and welcome to Beauty and the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. Now, today's doctor is Dr. Christopher Micallef. He's a board-certified plastic and reconstructive surgeon with over 15 years of service in the United States Air Force and is now in private practice in San Antonio, Texas. Now, Dr. Micallef received his Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine at the Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine in Pennsylvania, a general surgery internship and residency at Wright State University Boonshoff School of Medicine in Dayton, Ohio, and a plastic and reconstructive surgery residency at the University of Illinois in Chicago. Dr. Micallef, welcome to Beauty and the Biz.
Thank you for having me, Catherine.
Absolutely. So please share your journey from wherever you started, residency, all of that. And then how'd you end up in private practice in San Antonio, Texas?
Yeah, I've had a pretty unique path getting here over the years. Following residency at the University of Illinois, Chicago, and board certification in general surgery and subsequent board certification in plastic and reconstructive surgery, I did come out here to San Antonio to serve the U.S. military. A lot of my military background really shaped how I think about systems, accountability, and subsequent, leadership. That's really where I learned most of my leadership skills over the years. And it's in that environment that consistency really is not an option. You must be consistent when we're talking about, potential lives and reconstructive aspects of our armed forces patrons. So those same processes were subsequently transferred to the management of my current private practice here in San Antonio.
Nice. So how did you choose a location? Did you go with a retail shop, a medical center? Where are you at?
I think location is always key to real estate. This is certainly has not been my only real estate acquisition over the years. At the beginning, there was a big debate as to acquiring a lease or subsequently building. We did decided that at the onset because of some other commitments that still have time to play out, to go ahead and lease a space that was a second gen space, kind of in the heart of the city. And then we had the opportunity to work with an incredible design team, prototype design lab out of Toronto, who then really helped create my vision into reality for the practice.
Nice. Now you also brought on a few other people. So you're the plastic surgeon, and then you brought on a facial plastic surgeon, and then another doctor. So can you explain who all are the revenue producers in your practice?
Yeah, of course. The intention when building the practice, it was very intentional. We all know that the end product or the end outcome is only a part of that equation. The rest is really the experience for that patient and the subsequent journey. And so, part of that was how do we address everything under the same roof, really to provide the most optimal experience and journey for that patient. And to really encompass this life cycle, if you will, or ecosystem for the patient under a singular business. And so when I created Micallef Plastic Surgery, my private aesthetic practice, certainly we began only with myself and a couple of individuals, and we've certainly grown as time has gone on to include an internal medicine physician and physiologists to address really the hormonal aspect, the weight loss aspect for our patients preoperatively, and how do we really optimize their state in the perioperative and postoperative state times. And then we also brought on a facial plastic surgeon as well. At the beginning, I found myself being spread, quite thin, doing facial procedures and breast and body procedures. And we kind of got to the point where the intention was, let's focus on what we really want to do. And so I really took on all of the breast and body procedures for the patients. And then my facial plastic surgeon took on all the head and neck procedures essentially. And now in the practice, we also, because there's really been a trend or a change in people's views of surgery as kind of time has gone on to more combined procedures versus singular procedures. And so now we'll do a lot of combined procedures where the face and neck is done at concurrent with all the breast and body procedures.
Wow. Yeah. That's brutal downtime, but very convenient, you
It
know?
it is. It allows for, certainly it does come down to patient selection and ensuring that the appropriate support system is in place for that patient. But certainly, as long as the expectations are appropriate, I think it's an excellent option for patients to recover only under a singular circumstance.
Right. And then where are you at with non-surgical? It looks like you have some more staff handling that part of your practice.
That's right. Yeah. So we have a full suite of medical aesthetics at this point. And so that includes, a physician assistant, a registered nurse that are both doing the aesthetic side of the house, including some weight loss management, peptides, as well as the internal medicine physician, including injectables and lasers. And then we also have an esthetician and certified laser technician who takes really excellent care of our skin management.
How many staff do you have?
We have a total of 16 people currently on staff. We did just put out an additional ask for a social media marketing director as of this morning. So that will bring us up to 17 17 staff members once that hire actually happens.
Any tips on hiring, firing, motivating? It's nothing. That's not easy.
No, no. There certainly have been challenges as time has gone on, and one of the biggest challenges was, I wish I was more diligent and more intentional at the beginning with the hiring process. Lots of us when we begin private practices, see lots of resumes, and everybody looks good on paper. But what I've learned as time has certainly gone on is that you really do have to be very intentional in that hiring process because it is not only the end product, right? The surgical or non surgical aspect of plastic surgery that patients care about. It's the entire experience and it's the entire journey. And that begins the minute that they walk through that door. Any touch point that they have, phone call, text message, email, walking through the door into the office, every aspect of every staff member is part of that journey and part of that experience. And that can either make or break a practice. This entire practice was built on that concept. How do we create the best experience for our patients?
I'll bet that's where your Air Force experience comes in because you're very regimented and protocol kind of world that you come from. Has that been super helpful in this
It is.
world?
That my military career is really kind of what helped shape that systems and that accountability aspect of my current private aesthetic practice.
Right.
So,
What's been the biggest challenge so far running a solo practice?
I mean, there certainly has been, there's certainly been many. Um, the hiring and firing, process is certainly, an exquisitely challenging aspect. But I think that the biggest aspect for me in terms of what one of the biggest challenges was, how do we differentiate our practice from all the other practices, especially as the so-called new guy on the block. And so certainly, some practices most certainly try to differentiate themselves through price or subsequent outcomes. We really try to differentiate ourselves on the experience, right? The journey that the patient has by really creating what we like to call like a vertically integrated luxury ecosystem for our patients, where There are numerous touch points, and that life cycle is a continuous journey for our patients. It is not simply a revolving door where they enter, exit, and then we never see them again.
You've done a very good job on your website and in your social, trying to explain that, because you know that, but the patients don't. And patients only know what you're telling them. And a lot of them have been online, but nobody hardly ever talks about the post-operative recovery period, because we don't like to talk about that because it's more negative. But you're going right into it saying we're here on all facets, before, during, and after. You even have this huge, like a red light therapy, big machine, a whole body machine. I've
That's
never seen
right.
it before. I've seen the red light a lot, but not the whole body. I thought it was one of those hyperbaric chambers, you know. But what is your theory on this to help the patient recover faster, and that gives them a faster, just a better experience? Or how deep do you go into that?
Yeah, I mean, all of these aspects in the adjuvant therapy aspect of our procedure, everything that occurs after surgery, really makes a significant outcome or a significant difference for these patients. So immediately at the time of the operation, we do utilize Baha garments, and we provide all of our patients with staged Baha garments as time goes on, really to help minimize the subsequent swelling process that takes place postoperatively. But then we also institute things like postoperative lymphatic massage therapy and full body red light and infrared therapy from the Theralite system that you've seen. Really, all of these processes are in place to, one, help mitigate, decrease the amount of swelling, bruising, and really help stimulate the recovery process as quick as possible, so we can get these people back to their normal functioning lives as quick as possible.
You even have a lot of like laser treatments for scar revision or scars. And I really think you can win an awful lot of patients just focusing on that. One thing we learned about COVID was it was recovery, even more than price, that was the objection. We never really saw that before. We used to always say, oh, it's just price. And then during COVID, it's like, no, it sounds apparently it was about downtime. So anybody who can help that patient get up and at 'em faster, that can be a huge differentiator. And you're doing that. Are you finding that that's been super helpful to differentiate you from the others?
100%, absolutely. And I think that that is what differentiates us from some other practices, because people value experience, right? They value the opportunity and the journey and everything that that encompasses. And we really try to take the next step and say, you know what, all of our procedures are also going to be have an additional touch point with our injectors and with our esthetician laser technician who address the scar management, because at the end of the day, the final outcome is dictated by what the patient views, and that's the scar.
Hello, it's Catherine with a quick announcement. My new book, Beauty in the Biz, the Plastic Surgery Practice Growth Playbook, is at the printer. Now, it's based on 175 interviews with top plastic surgeons across the country, what they're doing differently to convert more, retain more, and profit more. You can pre-order a copy of the book at beautyandthebizbook.com. Now, back to the show. This thing about patient experience, I spend a lot of time on it. The issue is trying to corral the cats. Like, it starts with the phones. It starts with whoever is on the other side of that cell phone texting the patient back. Every single touch point
Every
includes.
touch point is critical, right? So, and that brings us back to the same point that I mentioned earlier was, I wish I was more diligent and intentional at the beginning with my initial staff. My initial staff doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Inherently, there was a learning process throughout that, and figuring out how do we truly become a practice that is communicating appropriately and communicating at a level that is very boutique and luxury. And I don't mean luxury from a perspective of expense, but rather luxury from like an intentional experience, right? From every phone call, every text message, every email. And the other thing that is a huge turnoff is could be a huge turnoff is the staff's tone as soon as you walk through the door. And those are the aspects of of a business like this in the world of aesthetics that must be controlled, right? If you can't control those aspects, those patients can be potentially lost to another plastic surgery practice.
Right.
So you have one opportunity to either be successful as soon as the patient walks through the door, and if you're not, they just go on to the next plastic surgeon.
How do you get that across to every staff person, all 16 people, how important they are to the success of the practice? How do you get that across?
I think that it's through communication. We're constantly communicating, we're constantly having meetings with one another and educating. But I think that the biggest critical aspect of all of this is consistency,
Right?
showing consistency over time. We've created a beautiful office space with the intention for our patients to enjoy. Every aspect of the office space has been curated and was very intentional for the development of that experience. Much like we see in some major corporations, like, I mean, we can look at Disney, right? Every aspect of Disney, which is one of the largest corporations in the nation, right, and the world, are curated to create an experience or a feeling throughout that journey through the parks, right? And so we have created that exact same concept from the minute somebody walks through that door.
Nice. You're right about the consistency, but that also means consistency of management. And you, as the leader, you have to keep telling them, this is who we are. These are our values. This is what I expect from you. You know,
Correct. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
never ending. Yeah.
It is never ending. It's constant reassurance. It's constant education. It's always making the staff feel like that they are part of that journey as well, um, because the journey is not about the surgeon. The journey is about the team.
Well, it's about the patient experience, you
Sure.
know? You
Yes.
know, we need them to love you so much that they tell their friends, that they come back for more, that they
Yes.
give you a good review, that they approve their photos for you, you know?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
this is a one patient at a time, and we're not getting that. We're so busy trying to scale and grow. The surgeon can lose sight of that. But it really is one patient story after another, because one becomes two, two becomes four, four becomes 16, and then it grows and grows. So
You're absolutely right on that. And as a whole, the practice from a marketing perspective is completely dependent on loops of patient experiences, right? Where people go out and say, "Hey, I had the best experience with this practice," and that is how we get all of our leads and our referrals. Certainly we do get some through socials and some through the lead management system through the website, but I would say that the majority of our marketing is all related to the patient experience.
those are really good numbers to know, by the way, because when I ask people, do you have reports like revenues by referral source? They always
Sure.
look at me like I'm crazy. I say,
Those are critical to know because that is integral to determining whether or not that line of revenue is successful.
right?
So, absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny when you look at real data, other than anecdotal data, they're usually very different, because you have your own perception of what you think is going on, but the numbers don't lie. I just think in today's world, I mean, we have CRMs and technologies for every little thing. So
Correct.
there's no reason not to know that in today's world. Social media is a little trickier. You know what I have learned? The patient, when they're on the phone and somebody says, the receptionist said, "How'd you hear about us?" Hopefully they're asking that, or the CRM picks it up and says Google, and that's fine. We'll leave it at that for now. But then when they come in and get to know you better and start to understand the staff and they start chatting more, well, it turns out, well, actually, their girlfriend mentioned you. Then they went to your Instagram. Then they went to your website. And that's how they're saying Google. So
Sure. Yeah.
it's gotten
So
tricky.
it can be very misleading. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So now that you have all these people, you need leads, So
Right.
do you have a lot of poles in the pond? Like, your using your website looks great. Are you doing SEO, organic, as well as paid ads? What are your marketing channels?
So all of our marketing channels are either our socials that you've seen on our Instagram pages, our website, which is completely driven by SEO, organic optimization. We actually don't spend a singular dollar on any pay-per-click ads or Google ads of any sort for the practice.
Nice. Are you hearing the patients say, "I found you on ChatGTP"?
Not so far. And honestly, I that is something I need to look and see if I honestly I haven't even tried looking on Chat GPT to see if I even show up in the rankings yet. We get a great deal of referrals and leads, every month for the practice. And so it's been fantastic. There's been no necessity for us to spend additional marketing dollars outside of, the website.
Good job. Yeah, that's nice. You're saving yourself tens of thousands of dollars a month, you know?
That's right. Yes, I definitely I speak with my colleagues, and of course, and some of them tell me how much they spend every month on it, and there's no ability to say that those tens of thousands of dollars that you spent on pay per click ads even did anything for you.
Yeah, I
You
hope
know,
they're tracking that. Yeah.
right? So yes, we avoid that at this current stage in our practice.
Another thing you've done pretty well is the before and after photos and just photo consent in general and video consent. Any tips on how you're getting patients to help you market you through them?
I think it just goes back to the aspect that our patients are inherently are happy with the journey, and when
Mm,
you have a patient who has had a good experience and feels like they are part of an organization or part of a team that actually truly cares for them, that they will go out there and post before and after photographs. And I mean, it's even been taken to the point where our patients initially created their own Facebook page for the office, uh,
nice.
as a like as a group of women, and there are no men in that group, but as a group of women who just come together to support one another.
Mm,
From the practice itself, the practice now does regulate that page, but at the beginning it was fully regulated by just the patients. Um, and it was fantastic. I mean, it just goes to show that people are having a very consistent experience within the organization, within the practice.
And I think that's terrific. A lot of the Facebook groups can be your best friend, but like everything else, can be your worst enemy if one of those women turns on you. So
That's right. That is right.
you just
Absolutely.
have to keep an eye on everything. Have you heard of Reddit? That keeps
Yeah,
coming
of
up.
course. Yeah, yeah.
It's like the Yelp, it's like the newer Yelp version, where people can say whatever the heck they wanna say, and I would just that's why it's so, so important that you're focused on the patient experience, and if there is a problem, you take care of it, and then on Reddit, they'll literally say, "We had a problem, and I'm s and he took care of it, and I love him, and I went back for more," you know?
Absolutely, and that's what we want. When we created, this, what we mentioned earlier, this ecosystem or this life cycle, right? That's what we want. How do we get the patient to want to come back more, right? To continue to pay for or be part of the membership of the organization, of the practice, and see our aesthetic nurse injectors or aesthetic PA injectors or esthetician and laser technicians, our lymphatic therapists come in for additional FAHAs, come in just for red light management. And certainly we are never, we will never capture 100% of individuals. That's not realistic.
Mhm.
But we're still doing very well from a recapturement rate. Like we're in upwards of 60% of our patients are maintained within the practice long term.
Nice, nice, that's great. Give me one big mistake you made that you learned a lot from that others could avoid.
Oh, I think that inherently the first big mistake that I made was, the initial onslaught of just hiring whoever looked great on paper. They didn't represent the practice in the way that I had hoped. And the world of aesthetics is a very difficult hiring pool. And I think that was my biggest challenge at the beginning. The other challenges that we've faced as kind of time has certainly gone on, is, you know, no one ever has the foresight up front to how quick am I going to grow, how much am I going to grow, and how much space am I going to need. And so, we're essentially, 2.5 years into practice at the current site, the build out from 2023, and we've already outgrown it.
How many
Uh,
square feet do you have?
we have a little over 3,000 square feet.
Oh, okay. Or do you
Uh,
have plans for growth? More growth?
we do. So we already acquired some land just a couple of miles down the road from the office, and the plan is to create a multidisciplinary center of excellence on that land. And so that is in the works. And hopefully by the time I retire from the military in 2028, then that site will be ready for us.
How many square feet is that going to be?
The intention for that building is about 51,000 square feet. So, but that is also encompassing other things than just the practice. So that's going to be inclusive of multidisciplinary surgical center, office space for my office, a full med spa aesthetics wing, and an entire wellness wing within that. And then the last floor will be conference space for the Center of Excellence and tenant space.
Holy cow. That's a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. So we're super excited, but certainly that has come with some challenges as well.
Well, at least you're in Texas. I'm in California. You can't build anything out here. The permit process is ridiculous. The supplies are out of control. I mean, Texas, you still have a chance of getting
That's
some
right.
real estate there and some good building. Good for you. Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. What's the ETA on that? That's a big project.
18 to 24 months. That's kind of how we're at right now.
Wow. So it's not going to be all you. There's going to be
No,
some
right.
from
Yeah,
outside world.
that's correct. Yes, exactly.
Or will it all at least be like the fun medicine side of the world?
It will, yeah. I mean, the intention is that we're creating something that's very multidisciplinary, but it's definitely we have no intention to bring in internal medicine, or family medicine. It's all going to be supportive to the world of aesthetics.
All right, but are you going to let like the law firm move in too, or are you going to
No,
keep?
no. That the intention will be to be very selective on who subsequently is in the tenant space.
Okay, fantastic. Oh, that's so good to know. Tell us something we don't know about you.
Let's see. So before I was a plastic surgeon. I used to own a wine importing distribution business,
Oh,
um, and so out of Chicago when I was a resident there. And we have recently reacquired our licensing here in Texas to reopen that wine importing distribution business here in Texas, and a very boutique, European-driven, European style music-driven wine bar here in San Antonio.
very very cool. Will that be near your new place?
We are still working on the final location, but the intention is that it will be within a couple of miles.
Okay, and I also noticed, speaking of European, I noticed on Instagram you had the most amazing proposal. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, it was truly incredible. My fiance is like an integral part of my life and this business as well as the coordinator as well. And I just wanted her to create, I wanted to just create the most magical moment I could for her. And so, we spent 3.5 weeks traveling throughout Europe, France, Spain, and Italy, and then, 2.5 weeks into the European vacation is when I proposed in Capri, off the coast of Capri, and then we had a beautiful private event like for dinner and music afterwards, kind of on the balcony of our hotel, which was incredible. I mean, it was an incredible experience. It was a lifetime opportunity, and the pictures are don't even do it justice.
Anybody interested, you need to check it out on Instagram. It's absolutely gorgeous. He went all out. I mean, it was a big deal. We're talking candles galore, flowers galore, island of Capri, boats, unbelievable. You.
So, Catherine, the one thing that was so challenging about that was that I didn't realize that you had to ship flowers into Capri, right? So that it became one of the biggest challenges because what you saw was about 1,000 flowers in order to
Yeah.
create that. And so we had to ship 1,000 flowers, essentially 12 hours before the proposal in
Oh,
order to get that thing made.
Dane, talk
Yeah,
about a memory, you know?
it was an incredible memory, and at the end of the day, that's what we want, right? That brings us full circle, right? That's what we want for our patients, and that's what I want for my life, right? Like creation of memories.
Well, now you just set the bar pretty high. I don't know what you're going to do on your wedding or your first anniversary and your second and your 30th.
That's always a challenge, right?
Wow. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure meeting you. I'll watch your career grow. And everybody, if you, oh, by the way, if anyone wanted to get a hold of you, your website is Micallef, and it's spelled Micallef, plasticsurgery.com. And your Instagram is the same, Micallef. Yeah?
Dr. Micallef. Yep,
Oh,
at Dr.
yeah.
Micallef.
Sorry.
Dr. Micallef. Yep.
Dr. Micallef. And with that, thank you so much, everybody. We are going to wrap it up now. If you would please subscribe and give me a review at Beauty and the Biz, I would very much appreciate it. And then if you've got any questions or feedback for me, please leave them on my website at catherinemaley.com, or you can certainly DM me on Instagram at catherinemaley.mba. Take care. We'll talk again soon. Hello, it's Catherine. If your practice feels busy but you're not seeing the growth you expected, there's usually a reason, and it's often something small that's quietly costing you revenue. That's why I offer a practice growth review. Now, in this call, I'll take an objective look at your patient flow, conversion process, and retention strategies to identify where opportunities may be slipping through the cracks. You'll walk away with a clear picture of what's working, what's not, and the few changes that could make the biggest difference. If you'd like an unbiased set of expert eyes on your practice, simply visit catherinemaley.com to schedule your review.